We have got quite a big, juicy news roundup today, appealing to all corners of the DC fandom, I guess. And that's because, first of all, we're talking about how James Gunn reveals a secret that everyone kind of knew about and how he's directing Superman Legacy. Ben Affleck does an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, and where he doesn't only just talk about his time as Batman and the Snyder Cut, but despite James Gunn saying that he met with Ben Affleck and that he wants to direct in his new DCU, Affleck says, absolutely not. We have some more of the Batman spin-off news, with Batman appearing in the Penguin shows and casting such as Carmine Falcone's son. New looks at characters in the Flash movie such as Dark Flash, and I really want to talk about that and pick your brains about it. All of that and way more in today's news roundup. So go ahead, please leave a like if you want to show your support for this channel, and if you enjoy these videos. Let's just say it really does actually help out a bunch. So thank you if you've gone ahead and done that. But let's dig into the first topic, and that is Ben Affleck. And some of you may have already heard about this, and it is a really interesting situation unfolding with regards to just how two different things have been said. Let's first preface the whole Gunn and Ben Affleck thing by reading James Gunn's original tweets and comments about this. It's really important to bear in mind as well, this is after he came in to DC leadership with Peter Safran after November, and he says, quite literally, we are working with Ben Affleck. Like, it's right there and then. We're working with Ben Affleck, but not only that, who really wants to be a part of our architecture team trying to bring things together. And here's the kicker. And he really wants to direct one of our projects, and we're looking forward to him doing that. And then there's a tweet in December, met with Ben yesterday precisely because he wants to direct. And then he goes on to say, and we want him to direct. We just have to find the right project. But he's done an interview with The Hollywood Reporter now, and it's literally saying quite the opposite. So this article came out literally yesterday, and they asked him, so if DC came to you now and said, do you want to direct something? But he said, I would not direct something for the James Gunn DC. Absolutely not. I have nothing against James Gunn. Nice guy. Sure, he's going to do a great job. I just wouldn't want to go in and direct in the way they're doing that. I'm not interested in that. So at this point, you're probably kind of thinking to yourself, what? Why did James Gunn quite literally say things like he really wants to direct and stuff? So it seems as though, to me, perhaps, there was that initial meeting. I'm sure many people like to call James Gunn an outright liar. I don't think he is literally an outright liar. I don't think he would actually tweet something as explicitly stated as met with Ben Affleck yesterday, in December 14th or whenever that was at the time. So perhaps there was that initial meeting, as James Gunn literally tweeted, and maybe Ben Affleck entertained that conversation. But perhaps, maybe with more clarity and more talks, they fell apart. Like, talks do fall apart. After all, Affleck did say, the way they're doing that. So perhaps Affleck would be more suited to something like that of an Elseworlds project, where it isn't beholden to a more connected universe. But maybe after that, sometime after that, and we are in March now, these talks happened with Ben Affleck, according to James Gunn, around December, he learned a bit more and he's like, absolutely not. The thing about this is that I don't think it looks particularly great for James Gunn. There's obviously a lot of haters out of the gate. I'm not saying everyone is a hater. You can be critical of Gunn, but then obviously there's the other side of things where people are just absolutely livid with the state of the DC reboot. They want the Snyderverse back and everything like that. And I feel like these comments really do add a bit of confusion into the mix, and only fuels people who are that, really driving hard into James Gunn with a lot more ammo. And also, to be honest, it also gives a bit more credence to the idea of people who are critical of James Gunn being so transparent on Twitter. Now, personally, I like it in terms of the rumors that get shut down, and I've mentioned how this can be a good thing with a few examples, but then you have stuff like like this, where he has quite literally said he really wants to direct one of our projects. Like, it doesn't look so great, and maybe now things appear a bit more like he shot himself in the foot. But, you know, if it wasn't something that was as firm as the way Gunn labeled it, what I am critical of here is that he should have probably not really said anything at all, because this was a part of a chain or a thread on Twitter where fans were asking him stuff, and he just kept replying, and, you know, so we are working with Affleck, he really wants to direct, kind of thing. And, you know, when it comes to something like this, there is an argument to be made that no matter what happened behind closed doors, unless Ben Affleck wrote on paper saying, Gunn, I do want to direct for you, he probably shouldn't share that with the fans, because here we are, and Affleck most certainly isn't interested. And on the broader spectrum of things, you know, I'm not mega surprised because of Affleck's previous experience. Granted, as I said, he has done 5-minute roles, because I know if I say this, people will be like, oh, clearly he's not done with DC, because he filmed for The Flash after the Justice League experience. He filmed for Aquaman 2. But again, him coming in to do something when he's in a much better position than he was back then, to do 4 to 5 minutes, a day's worth of shooting for Aquaman 2 isn't exactly truly committing. I still believe that for the large part he is done to the extent of not wanting to truly commit. Those are the key words, and directing a DC movie and going that hard into it would be quite a commitment. But at the same time, I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking that. Why? Because of what James Gunn tweeted. So this is why it's a little bit of a mess. I was waiting to make this video till today, hoping that James Gunn maybe would have said something about it, but I did have my reservations, because while he may debunk articles and stuff like that, if there's a Hollywood Reporter article, or should I say an interview with Ben Affleck, where he's saying something opposite to what James Gunn said, I didn't know if he would really address that, because it's not simply shooting down a rumor of, oh, you know, this person's being cast in Superman Legacy. This is a bit more like between Ben Affleck and James Gunn, and, you know, if he says something saying, well, no, Ben Affleck did meet with me and did say this, it would just fan the flames. Then it's just like, who is really telling the truth? Maybe there's some miscommunication here and there is truth in it, and there was a meeting, but Ben Affleck has changed his mind. But really kind of spelling this out to the audience in an online public town square, it's gonna just inflame it even more, even if there is truth to both sides of the situation. So it seems like he's just left it. He could reply, I will do an update if he does. Obviously, since the most recent comments are from Ben Affleck saying absolutely not, he's just not interested in that. Don't expect, obviously, Ben Affleck to be directing anything for the DCU. Topic number 2 today, continuing on the James Gunn discussion, Superman Legacy. Now, I do think that this is a situation of where maybe he's always known that he'd be directing, because, again, a part of that thread after the DCU Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters announcements, a fan asked who's directing, is like, you know, just writing the script at the minute, we don't know who yet will be directing. But now, lo and behold, on this thread here, he says, yes, I'm directing Superman Legacy to be released on July 11th, 2025. My brother Matt told me when he saw the release date, he started to cry. I asked him why. He said, dude, it's Dad's birthday. I hadn't realized. And this is a touching story. You know, I lost my dad almost 3 years ago. He was my best friend. He didn't understand me as a kid, but he supported my love of comics and my love of film, and I wouldn't be making this movie now without him. It has been a long road to this point. I was offered Superman years ago. Initially, I said no because I didn't have a way in that felt unique and fun and emotional that gave Superman the dignity he deserved. Then a bit less than a year ago, I saw a way in many ways centering around Superman's heritage, how both his aristocratic Kryptonian parents and his Kansas farmer parents inform who he is and the choices he makes. So I chose to finally take on writing the script, but I was hesitant to direct despite the constant pestering by Peter Safran and others to commit. Sorry, Peter. Just because I write something doesn't mean I feel it in my bones, visually and emotionally, enough to spend over 2 years directing it, especially not something of this magnitude. But the long and the short of it is, I love this script, and I'm incredibly excited as we begin this journey. Hashtag up, up, and away. So again, a lot of people have been saying he's always going to be directing this movie, and I've said that as well. It's extremely likely. I would have bet quite a bit of money on it, to the point of here we are now, lo and behold, surprise, surprise, James Gunn is directing a movie of which he has penned the script for. And that is very James Gunn, right? I think he has said similar things like this in the past, and maybe there is some truth to that. He is, arguably one of the busiest men in Hollywood right now. I mean, just again, imagine the responsibility of being James Gunn and Peter Safran and forging and carving out this new DC cinematic universe for a company that really needs some success like Warner Brothers Discovery, and just the property of DC in movie form and even series is pretty crazy. So maybe there were some hesitations. Like, he wanted to write it, right? Superman is close to his heart. There are other tweets that we've gone over in the past in where he said that when he was growing up with his dad, as to what he kind of references here, his dad didn't get him, but he read a Superman comic, he took him to a convention, and he found his dad one day actually reading it himself. A dad who never remotely related to him, but decided to kind of take that interest in his son. And I do see the sentimentality and attachment there as to why James Gunn is saying all of these things. And the question is he right for the role? Now, a big part of me is saying that I do want to give him the shot of this. He is, no matter how critical you are of James Gunn, and I'm looking at everyone who is really saying, oh, screw this man and everything, he does have a backstory that he's explained in detail of how much he loves these characters, how much he's actually basically a guru of them ever since he was a little boy. So I do feel like he will have an understanding of Superman. But then again, I do understand the apprehensions and concerns of others, looking at his other projects, whether it's Guardians of the Galaxy, Peacemaker, or whatever. There is often quite a comedic tone to it. But you have to think that, as he said himself as well, and I wish I could just stuff every single video into this next sentence of what I've covered with how he says each DCU movie will be different. This isn't the Gunverse. It doesn't mean that Superman Legacy is going to be Vigilante and Peacemaker jokes, Guardians of the Galaxy Star-Lord jokes, and all of this stuff. But obviously, when it comes to Superman, a new Superman movie, the first proper movie where the DCU really kicks off, there's a lot of stakes in this. But I also believe that's why maybe he wants to tackle it himself. This movie will mean a great deal and will leave a fat first impression on people who are going to see this and who are judging the DCU for what it could look like as a successful future, or maybe quite the opposite. So I leave that question with you. How do you feel about this? Do you think James Gunn could produce a good movie? Even if you are like one of the most critical of him, do you see any credence there as to giving him a shot? I would love to know any and all of your thoughts down in the comments below. Okay, so up next in other DC movie news, the Flash movie. So as you guys know, Barry kind of goes back in time and he kind of screws things up for himself, finds himself in this new reality and needs to help out with another Man of Steel Black Zero event. But for the longest time, we've heard about this other Barry, not the other Barry in the movie where obviously he helps him get the Speed Force and he's wearing the Michael Keaton batsuit, but the Dark Flash Barry. So McFarlane Toys have come out with, all of the toys for the movie. We've got looks at Ben Affleck's Batman, Sasha Calle's Supergirl, you name it, right? But we also have the look of Dark Flash. Now, this has already been out there for a long time in plenty of images, and obviously I do need to state that this is just an image of a toy. You can't really be like, oh, that looks terrible, it's gonna look terrible, because it's a toy. Like McFarlane Toys, in my opinion, whether you love them or dislike them, I don't really think they always look that great, but it gives you a very good impression of what it could look like in real life, right? So it also says in a description here, as he pushes the boundaries of his powers, Barry Allen encounters a mysterious and terrifying vision amidst the Speed Force. Something, or someone, is seemingly using the abilities of the Flash for nefarious purposes. Now, I find that toy description interesting because obviously it is a little bit of a preview for the Dark Flash in the movie. And I think when Barry will be running back in time, when he's made a decision, even though Ben Affleck's Batman's like, oh, you could destroy everything, and he's going to do it anyway, right? When he's running through the Speed Force tunnel to go back to when his mum is alive, I think that's when we'll get maybe the first glimpse of the Dark Flash, who won't be here until later on in the movie, obviously. And that leads me to say, before we talk about the design itself, that I think the whole Zod and Black Zero event could more likely be kind of the second act, middle portion of the movie, rather than a lot of people thinking that that's going to be like the big boss battle stuff going on with all the Kryptonians, Supergirl, Batman for the duration of the movie. But I do think that will be resolved not early on, but by like the middle-ish mark, maybe a bit beyond that. But the actual final act, like big boss tropey superhero battle kind of thing, I believe will be Dark Flash. Now, what I find very fascinating about this is, obviously, it kind of looks like he's got some Venom goo, but obviously a bit more solidified on his suit. I know this is very familiar from the comics, kind of like a Daniel West kind of situation going on. I do find it interesting how there is, to me, and I am colorblind, but I think I can see this, that there is yellow under the suit. Now, I'm not just on about the middle bit where someone might say, oh, that's just the Flash symbol shining through the black goo of what's going on with this armor here, but it's clearly present, like under the black venomy goo. The cowl that this Dark Flash is wearing, under all the corruption, if you will, is yellow as well. Now, that's not me saying that this Dark Flash is the Reverse Flash with whatever they're doing in this movie. Who knows what they could do with adaptations here, and maybe making it innovative. There's been a theory for a long time that they actually might make the Reverse Flash in this movie another version of Barry, so it might start off as the Dark Flash, but I don't know. The more you go down that rabbit hole of speculation, the more convoluted it feels like it's going. I do think that this will be just a Dark Flash, although the yellow does pique my interest as to what is really going on underneath the suit. Now, I do think that this could be a version of Barry, who basically could be from another alternate reality, or maybe from the future who's come back here, or you could even toss into the mix that the other Barry who's wearing the Keaton armor in the movie, who gets given Speed Force powers by our DCEU Barry, even though it doesn't seem like it yet from the trailers, he could be like, by the end of the movie. Again, I'm not injecting too many smart ideas here, but something like that. But the main idea I'm trying to get across here is that, let's just say that Barry doesn't run back in time at the end of the movie and lets his mother die, because that's kind of what he has to do in Flashpoint, because he realizes, even though I wanted my mother, I can't keep doing this, so I need to kind of correct things. If he didn't do that, then maybe if he stays there, this is like a version of what he could become. I don't really have much backup evidence as to why I think something like that. You could argue that this is another Barry Allen who is a bit further down the timeline, in some alternate reality, maybe with similar circumstances, who met Iris West and lost her and then became more dark, more sinister. He already had the Speed Force, but with him getting more dark and sinister, he became more corrupted and thus became Dark Flash. But that's enough of my speculation. Obviously, this is meant to be another version of Ezra Miller's Barry Allen, so I'm super interested to hear what you think could be going on with the Dark Flash. What do you think of this toy design? Please bear in mind that it is a McFarlane, figure, and, I'm not saying it's going to look amazing in the movie. I do think it's a quite out there design, and the CGI could look a bit weird here, because it's a very, spiky, thorny, dark, corrupted armor. It just feels like they're going a bit too far. They could have made it look a bit more, I don't know, discreet whilst looking corrupted, but we're going to have to wait to see the movie ourselves. So up next, let's talk about Robert Pattinson's possible cameo in that of the Batman spin-off series, The Penguin. So in this Batman-related news, you may be familiar, if you're in the loop and you're staying up to date with this stuff, that fans have been talking about the possibility of Robert Pattinson cameoing in the show, either as Bruce Wayne or Batman. But in the past week, there was a post on Twitter by The Art of the Batman sharing an article about how Pattinson could appear in the show, but perhaps not as Batman due to the outlet claiming the TV rights for Batman are caught up in a legal limbo. So he could appear as Bruce Wayne, just like how you see on Titans or all these other DC TV shows, but Batman might just be kept to film. As a result, many fans were like, what? They tagged James Gunn, and James Gunn came through and said that the rights issue is not true. As a result, you guessed it, this does mean that Robert Pattinson could basically appear as Bruce Wayne or in costume as the Batman. Now, this doesn't mean he will, but it is kind of, it could actually happen. It really could. Now, again, it's not an issue of the rights, so it's more of a situation of if we will see Robert Pattinson have a relevant role or scene or two in the 8-episode limited series. This is 8 hours of television in Matt Reeves' Gotham. Now, with the massive changes that are coming our way, with Oz likely landing on top as Kingpin, you'd have to think that Batman could appear. It would be pretty cool if we saw Bruce Wayne in drifter mode. episode. Even if Robert Pattinson wasn't on set, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an Easter egg of like a drifter in the background of Gotham City. But ultimately, again, if Batman does appear, or Robert Pattinson as either Bruce Wayne or Batman, I think it will be for selective and crucial scenes, or even just a scene. But that's not only it with regards to the Penguin. We finally have the casting of Carmine Falcone's son, Alberto Falcone, and he's being played by Michael Zegan. And we also have some other castings such as James Madio and Scott Cohen, of whom we don't have a character for just yet, but they could be a part of the Falcone crime family. I've gone over a bunch of character descriptions that you guys can check out for yourself. Could be maybe Johnny Vitti or whoever else, but I'm super hyped about what could be going on here. And not to mention, guys, Theo Rossi has been cast in an undisclosed role as well, and you may know him from Sons of Anarchy or Luke Cage. I think he's an exceptional actor, and I was over the moon when I saw that he's going to be in the Penguin series. And lastly, everyone, Zack Snyder, as I'm sure you're aware, has put out some teasers on social media of something coming our way, April 28th, 29th, and 30th. Now, most people's speculation is that this is another Snydercon, so I do expect that to be the case, which will be really fun. Like, I'm sure on these dates there'll be a lot of kind of Snyderverse festivities. Again, with the pictures that Zack has been uploading, you can see Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Zack Snyder's Justice League. They could be showing this at those dates of SnyderCon, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to try and kind of slowly gel his Rebel Moon project in there as well, and that'd be really awesome because obviously he's already got an inbuilt audience there who will want to support his new Rebel Moon, which does look like an amazing new project that he's been developing, and I can't wait to cover that on the channel. So we could get more of an extended look of that there, even though it's going to be more about the Snyderverse, I'm sure, if this is indeed SnyderCon. I do believe that he can use that to promote some other things, because obviously his supporters will want to support him with his new endeavors. So let me know what you think of that as well. Let me know if you do think that something mind-blowing will be dropping on these dates, but I don't think it will with regards to anything about restoring the Snyderverse. But that's everything I've got to say in today's video, guys, so there's a lot to talk about. I would love to hear your thoughts on each and every topic, so do leave them down in the comments below, because there's certainly quite a bit to discuss. If you got this far in the video, I would really appreciate it if you left a like. Maybe you forgot to at the beginning, but if you're hearing me say it right now, would really greatly appreciate that. If you're brand new here, do consider subscribing, of course, for more content just like this. Check out my Shazam review, my Mandalorian reviews, and everything like that, Superman and Lois as well. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you people at the DCU in the next video. Goodbye.